The word murder has been infamous since its creation. Out of all the bad things that happen in life, murder seems to always stand out from the rest. This was also the case in the late 1800s, when John and Elizabeth Howlett were both shot and killed inside their estate, murdered in cold blood by their son's best friend, Rose. But why? Did she just break down one night and decide to take their lives? Or was it just jealousy? Those questions were never answered. As a matter of fact, Rose was never convicted of her crimes. Well, because she was never seen again. This is the story of James Howlett. Welcome to Origin. It wasn't until 2001 that some light had finally been shined on one of the greatest murder mysteries of the 1800s. A diary was found outside what was once a mining colony. This diary belonged to none other than the killer herself, Rose. But the diary told a different story. The first entry in the diary begins when Rose first came to the Howlett estate. When talking to her carriage driver, Mr. Kenneth, he gives her a brief history of the estate and tells her about the people who lived there. Built on a foundation of tears was the words he used to describe the place. You see, the eldest son became ill and died shortly after the estate was built. This drove Mrs. Howlett crazy with grief, a grief that had ended her up in the madhouse. Stories of the estate were well known to the locals, which is why Rose's next question didn't surprise the man. She asked about the old man and if the stories were true. This old man, as she had put it, was John Howlett's father. He had got rich selling copper ore, but didn't like socializing with the lower class people. He basically told her to stay away from him because he didn't talk to their class of people. And yes, the rumors were true. He then mentions how the estate was really a place of bad luck and wondered why Rose was coming there. She tells him of how her parents died of the influenza and that she had no other place to go. Mistress Hopkins, who was the housekeeper, knew her aunt and thought after all the trouble the family was going through that she would be the perfect companion for James Howlett, their now only child. Kenneth warns her, really gives her the best piece of advice that she gets in her entire time at the estate. He tells her if she wants to live past 13, that she mind her own business and everything will work out. After Mr. Kenneth drops her off, she then meets Dog for the first time. He is the 12-year-old son of the groundskeeper, Logan. He tells her that she is pretty and that he likes her hair. She is flattered by the comment, and when asking him his name, he throws dirt in her face, laughs, and runs off. She is mad with disbelief when Mistress Hopkins shows up. She tells her who he is, and that his father is no good, and neither is he, and that she should stay as far away as possible from them two. Rose then gets to meet John and his father. She could tell the rumors about his father were true by just talking to him once. She could also tell that John was a great man. Her diary goes on about her early life on the estate. She becomes great friends with James and Dog, and she always has the same feeling about Dog. Something different about him, something troubling. She also feels sorry for James because of how sick he is. This keeps him from doing the same things as her and Dog get to do, like swimming and playing. The diary skips ahead to later years of her being on the estate. James is older now and seems like he's getting more sick. Dog has become more distant, however, because of his father not wanting him to be around them. You see, Logan, the groundskeeper, was a drunk, and he also liked to abuse his child. After many years of being beat, he finally gave in and really started listening to his father. One day, Rose walked in on Mistress Howlett getting dressed, saw something terrifying. She had huge claw-like marks on her sides. It was nothing like anything she had ever seen before. Mistress Howlett gets angry at Rose for barging in, and Rose runs to the backyard to hide. This is when Dog shows up. saying it was only a matter of time she would come and see him. He then tries to touch her when James sees them and tries to stop Dog. He runs to tell his father because he's really too weak to put up a fight. And when his dad finds out, he goes to confront Logan. He tells him to keep his kid in check, basically. You see, Logan doesn't like John just because he's always felt like John thought he was better than him. He is the groundskeeper, and John is the owner of a huge estate, so you could kind of understand that. The second moment that really started this chain of events that happens is when Dog confronts James about him telling his father on him. Well, you see, he's not very happy about that, and he starts a fight. And when Dog gets the upper hand, instead of hurting James worse, which would probably get him in more trouble, he decides to take it out on James's dog. He pulls his knife out, puts it to the dog's throat, and slices it. John, as you can imagine, is furious with the news of his son's dog's brutal murder and bans Logan and his son from the estate grounds. As he's being dragged off the estate, he threatens to kill John Howlett. That night, Logan goes home. He tells his son that it's time everything had changed. First, Logan knocks out Mr. Kenneth and forces Rose to take them down the back way to the master bedroom. When they get there, they find Elizabeth. They seem to know each other rather well, which is very odd. And when Logan asks her to run away with them, John shows up. John, calling Logan a fool for showing up, causes Logan to hit him with his gun. Then right as James walks in to see what the noises are, he pulls the trigger of the gun. One shot to the head, and John was dead. James freaks out, trying to wake his dad up. Crying and yelling, it drives Logan even more mad, and he tells his son to shut him up. Out of nowhere, James hits Dog in the face and knocks him out of the way. That's when Logan comes over to finish the job. James hits him in the chest and is knocked across the room. Logan then warns James that he has another shot for him, when all of a sudden he grabs his chest and falls over dead. That's when Rose first saw them. It was something so horrifying and otherworldly that she couldn't believe her eyes. Bones were sticking out of James's hands like claws. James had murdered Logan with them and scarred Dog's face. James freaks out, not knowing what is happening to his hands. His mother, however, seems like she has seen this before. She even says, "Not you again." She then says he isn't her son, slaps James, and tells him that he's an abomination and that he should leave this place forever. Then Elizabeth takes her own life with Logan's rifle, stating that she knew something like this would happen. Now it's just James and Rose. After everything that has happened, James is so distraught that he seemed to have forgotten exactly what happened. Dog is found later by the police. He ends up pinning the murders of his dad and the Howletts on Rose. Now with the police after her, Rose tries to find help for her and James, but everyone turns her down. She then turns to James's grandfather as a last resort. He tells her that his grandson died last night and he has no more family. He gives her money and he tells her to never show her face again. Not knowing what else to do, Rose and James leave for British Columbia. Her father had told her stories of the place and how they were simple folk and stayed to themselves, which was perfect for them. The closer they got to British Columbia, the more she realized James was healing on his own, mysteriously without any medicine. This place that they were going to was a mining colony. The years that followed showed major changes in James. You see, the work at the mining colony made him strong, but abnormally strong. It also made his and Rose's relationship even stronger. The only problem was they had to disguise themselves as just cousins, and they even gave James a new name, a familiar name, Logan. As the years went by, James, now going by Logan, worked hard and became the best worker in the colony. Smitty was the guy who ran the place. He was the foreman, and he really helped Logan grow as a man. But he also fell in love with Rose. and Rose fell in love with him. They kept things secret from Logan because deep down, Rose knew Logan loved her as well. When food became scarce, Logan started hunting. He hunted so much, he became the leader of a wolf pack. The wolves admired his hunting skills and roamed the woods with him at night, hunting and killing deer. Logan felt like it was a different part of him that, well, he needed to indulge in. One day, Rose told Logan that she was going to marry Smitty. Logan insisted that they were in love, but Rose said it wasn't meant to be. She tells him that they were leaving to get married the next day, and that it made her happy. Later that day, a mysterious man shows up at the local bar. Smitty is there too, signing up for the local cage fights. This mysterious man asks him what he's signing up for, and Smitty states that he needed the money to marry his beautiful woman, Rose. Logan also signs up for the fights, and after many tough fights, the final 2 men are left to fight. Logan versus Smitty. During this dramatic fight, he tells Smitty that he truly loves Rose and he'll do anything for her. He then throws the fight so Smitty can win the money for him and Rose. Afterwards, Smitty thanks Logan for what he did and tells him to take over as foreman of the colony. Then he runs home to surprise Rose, but when he tells her he left Logan by herself after the fights, for some reason she runs back to the bar to see if he's okay. That's when this mysterious man attacks Logan. You see, this mysterious man is none other than Dog, all grown up, and out for revenge. An insane fight breaks out, and Dog, being the bigger and faster man, takes control of the entire fight, beating and smashing Logan across the ground with ease. The entire time, he's taunting him and trying to get him to remember his past. Close to death, this triggers something in Logan, and he fights back with tremendous strength. With now having the memory of his past, it gives him strength to defeat Dog after what he's done to his family, after all the times he made fun of James, after all the times he had beat up James, and yes, even for his dog. Claws now extended, Logan goes for the final blow. But just as he's about to land it, Rose jumps in front of him. Rose is killed by James's claws. She then dies in his arms. After Rose's death, Logan is never seen again at the mining colony. Some say he died from all of his wounds. Others say he went to live with the wolves. I think we all know what happened to James Howlett. He became one of the greatest superheroes the world has ever seen. I hope this look into his past helps sums up a lot about Logan. It did for me. I want to first thank each and every one of you who are listening to this podcast. You have no idea how much I appreciate it. And I want to give you a brief insight on this podcast. Origin is written and recorded by me, Cameron Rainey. This podcast is a bi-weekly look into your favorite heroes or villains past. If you've ever wondered why Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy was so cool, or why Magneto chose to be evil instead of good, then this podcast is for you. I know a lot of other podcasts like to try to do it weekly, but at this point, I'm not able to do that. That's why I started my Patreon. There you'll get instant access to episode transcripts, Patreon-only posts, a chance to see the next episode's character before anyone else, and even extra episodes, like for instance, when Logan meets the Hulk for the first time. One last thing, if you're interested in staying in the loop on future episodes, and even more exciting things to come, feel free to follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at origin_podcast, and on Facebook and Instagram at Origin Podcast, all one word. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.